It's early June here, and it's time to trim back these grapes. They're really running amok, as you can see here. They're just growing in all over the place, and the vines are really off the hook. So we need to corral them in by doing a little trimming on them. Looks like we're going to have a ton of grapes this year. We've got all these clusters all over the vines. But we also need to prune them back so that the grapes that are going to form and are forming, that they'll get as big as possible. These here are the Niagara green grapes. They do have seeds in them, and when I planted them I didn't really realize that. Didn't think about it at the time. And then over here, these are my red Reliance grapes, and these are seedless. Now in my video on applying the Bordeaux mixture to help fight black spot on the grapes, I had mentioned that I have two areas. I'm trying to grow in this entire canopy here, so that I had a couple of areas that I needed to fill in, and one was right along this beam here on the pergola, and another one was right up here and finishing it up. And then I think, oh, and then there's one more over there, but not very much because it's mostly filled in already. So what I'm going to be doing is allowing some of the vines, like that one there, I'll just stretch that one out and attach it to the wire that I've got that runs along the top of that crossbeam, and allow it to fill in, and then the entire canopy will be done, and then I'll be able to have actually a cover of leaves and grapes hanging down, and I think that'll be really nice. So what I'll be doing now is trimming back these branches that are growing out, these vines, and how I'll do it is I'll cut back to a second cluster. So as you see on this one, it grows out from here, and you've got 1, 2. So I'll trim it off right here, and that way if this cluster fails, you got a backup of that. And I'll do that for every vine that's growing off of here. It keeps it in check, and as I said, it also helps the grapes that remain, because they'll be able, the energy of the plant then will go into fattening up these grapes and not trying to produce way out on the tips of the vine. So far I haven't seen any evidence that there is going to be the black spot fungus this time, although there are a few leaves here that do have some dots on them. So I did spray it that one time with the Bordeaux mixture, and once I prune it back, I'm going to make another application of the Bordeaux mixture and hopefully keep in check whatever fungus may be on the vines. As I've noted in other videos, the rain has just been unrelenting this year, and unable to really get too many dry days, consecutive dry days, to apply the mixture. But we've had actually 3 days in a row now, and it was supposed to rain pretty hard yesterday, but it never materialized. So I'm hoping we're in for a little dry period now. So as I said, I'm going to cut back these vines because they need it, and then apply the Bordeaux mixture to them. So I've got my pruning shears here, and I've got some rubbing alcohol, and I'm just going to wipe down my blades to make sure that I'm not transferring any diseases from other cuttings that I've done onto my vines. And I'll regularly wipe them down as I go along, just so I'm not transferring it from plant to plant. So how I'm going to cut them, as I said, I'll show you here. We've got two buds. We've got the one bud here and the second here. So I'll come in and I'll just clip it right above the second bud. And now the energy in this branch can concentrate on these grapes that are forming. We'll just go along the entire plant and do that. I have a pail here that I'll just be throwing the cuttings in, and I'll be taking them out of the yard. That way, if there is any fungus on them, I'm not going to transfer it into my compost pile and then into any soil that I end up using. So again, following a branch up, we've got one bud here and then the second bud here. So come in and cut. Now it's going to happen that I'm going to come across branches that have multiple clusters of grapes on them. So it'll mean I'm losing some grapes, but that's fine because the overall health of the plant will end up being improved by it. And once again, come out and go 1, 2, and cut. Oops. And then on this branch here, which starts back here, comes out 1, 2, and we'll cut right there. So I'll have to get up on a ladder and handle some of these. And just to show you what I mean here, this branch here actually has several clusters of grapes on it extending out. So, as I said, that'll cause us to lose some grapes, but the plant will be better off overall. Before I get into the pruning, I figured I'd give you a bird's eye view of what the grapevines look up here. And as you can see, I have metal wire running all along each of the beams, and from end to end this way, going down to there, and then from side to side going this way. As you can see, I'm using zip ties, and they're very loosely on the vine and the wire, and that's just to keep it growing in the right direction so it doesn't fall down below. So just to show you how I'm training them now, so I've got this one vine here that's grown out of this, where the hell, okay, it came from over here. This vine actually comes here, goes back this way, and then down the column. So now it's running back this way, and I'm going to take this offshoot here. My original one had been coming out from a vine from over there, running this way, but as you can see, we had some die back here over the winter. So as I'm pruning, I'll just cut this off. So now I'll just take this vine here, and I'm going to tie it to the guide wire over here using the zip ties. And it might be difficult with one hand. So I have it on here, and there we go. So again, it's just loose. Now that attaches it to the wire. Now I'm going to take this end of it and loop it around this way and tie it right around here. And then the end is pretty much as far as I'm going to want it to run. So I'll nip off the end of it, and that'll stop it from growing. So I've got wire cutters here, and I just neaten this up. And this other one. These little tendrils here, they end up gripping onto the wire anyway. And show you. Here you go, behind this leaf here, you can see how the tendrils latch on. So that, there we go, now it's focused. So the tendrils latch on, and that holds it in place over time as well. Now as these vines get thicker, of course, I'll be keeping an eye on the connections and make sure they're not strangling the vine too. And if they are, I'll just nip it off and add another one. So I have a few more that I want to run out, like this vine here. I think I'll have it follow this line going down that way. I've got a couple of vines going out, this one here, so I can have it come this way. Actually, I have to put a wire on this one. I have nothing going the entire length over here on this one. So I'll have to put a wire up, and I'll do that before I start pruning back this wild growth. Okay, we've got all the trimmings done, and all the vines have been cut back. So it's a lot neater now, and also a lot healthier for the vine. Now I'm sure I didn't get all of them, and then some, like this one that's coming down here, that's actually to grow along this beam here, but it's not long enough yet to make the turn, so I'm going to let it grow a little bit longer, and then I'll be able to string it along the top of the rafter. But the good thing about grapes is that if you didn't get them this time, you'll come across another time in another month or so to cut them back some more. Over here, the grapes had actually started to grow onto the roof of the garage, and they were starting to get into the gutter area and the eave, so cut them all back. And again, there's just a ton of grape clusters on the vines, so I really am hoping that this year we have a nice harvest. Last year, the only grapes that grew were on this central post here. Well, not central, central for this Niagara vine. And they just grew like right along here, because this was the old wood, the old vine. So last year it was just sending out a lot of growth that I ended up covering the pergola with. And the same thing on the Reliance grapes over there. It was only on the vertical portion that grapes actually grew. So now that we've got year-old wood up on top here, that's why we've got all these grape clusters now growing. And then every year thereafter, we'll just have more and more grapes to harvest. And of course, Mrs. Rugged Homestead said, why do we have so many grapes? We're never going to be able to eat all of them. And I told her that's the one good thing about having an abundance of produce to harvest, is that you can share with family and friends and give them some, plus have an abundance for yourself. So we've got the grapevine cut back, and now I'm going to apply the Bordeaux mixture spray to it and cover every bit of the vine. the leaves, the underside, up the top side of them, and try to prevent any of the black spot fungus from developing. And hopefully that'll help us have a really good harvest. It's 1 month later, and I just wanted to give you an update just to show you how wild these vines are growing. I've been a little slow in posting the videos, but as I showed in that in this video, I pruned them back a month ago, and now they're growing in like crazy, but they're also producing wonderful fruit that's really starting to fill out. I'm really excited by this, but these vines are nuts. They're growing like crazy. So still actually have to fill them in along these wires here, these bars where I haven't got a vine, and that's why some of these are actually very long, because they're going to be used to fill in the gaps. But I have to say I'm really happy about how these grapes are growing. Interestingly though, these are the red grapes, the Red Reliance, and as you can see, the bunches are kind of weird. I'm not sure if birds are just eating these bunches here, but they're growing in much differently than the green grapes, which are over here, and each of the bunches are really very full. So again, I'm not sure if it's birds and they just have a preference for red grapes over green, or there's something with that vine, but they're doing really well, so I'm really very happy. And other than I'm going to have to be out here in the next day or so trimming back these vines again. I'm not sure when I actually start picking grapes, probably in August sometime, but the vine is healthy, and despite having pruned it back, it needs to be pruned back again. Okay, if you like what you see, give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel if you'd already do so, and hit that alarm bell, and that way you'll be notified right away when videos like this are posted. Okay, thanks for watching.